chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you. From national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and on this Wind Down Friday, we're diving into some of the week's top stories, unpacking what they mean for us. And I'm inviting you to call in and share your take on them. 345-936-8255. Yes, it's a happy Friday. And the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice, and I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Now, Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. Don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Because you can follow me on Facebook and you look for Sabrina Turner, community activist, and also on Instagram at Sabrina Speaks and the number 12. And you can find me on all CMR platforms as well, and definitely right here, cmrtv.com and all of CMR social media platform pages. Now we're going to take a minute and I will be right back so that we can dive into all of these topics and hot stories and more after this short break.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage is pleased to announce that the nominations for the 2026 National Recognition Awards are now open. Nominate individuals and groups who played a key role in developing the Cayman Islands' physical infrastructure. The categories include landmark leaders, infrastructure innovators, and the builders of Cayman. Visit gov.ky/YSCH. Click on the nominate button to make a nomination. Here is a step-by-step guide to fill out the form. Before starting, please read the instructions, the award categories, and the eligibility criteria. Step 1. Enter your personal information and select the award category for the person or group you are nominating. Click Yes to confirm that your nominee meets the criteria. Step 2. Enter the nominee's full name, date of birth, and district. Indicate their current status, whether living or deceased, and ensure you have the current contact information for your nominee and their next of kin. Fill out the submission detail and provide any supporting documents and a reference to support your nomination. Step 3. Review your submission and make any changes by clicking the previous button. When you are ready, confirm and agree to the terms and click Submit Form to make your nomination. A thank you notice will confirm that the nomination was received and a copy of the application will be sent to your email. Your nomination will be reviewed and considered by the National Recognition Awards Committee, and only successful nominees will be contacted and recognized at next year's National Heroes Day ceremony. The deadline to make a nomination is October 15. Remember, you can submit multiple nominations or browse our frequently asked questions by visiting the National Recognition Awards tab at gov.ky/YSCH. We look forward to receiving your nomination.
Welcome back to Sabrina Speaks. Yes, it is a pleasure to be here with you on this Wind Down Friday as we put the spotlight on Cayman headlines and the community pulse. Today, it's just me, you, and the mic. 936-8255 is the number to call in and give your take on some of this week's hot headlines. And, I want to just say hi. Hi, Miss Barbara. How are you? Good evening. Welcome. And Cayman Kind, happy Friday to you as well. It is a pleasure to be here after what seems to have been like a long, long week. And, I just want to share some of these headlines with you. But before going in there, to that, for all of the persons over in the BRAC, there will be a candlelight vigil tonight in honor of Philip Turner. And that'll be at the Spot Bay Community Park. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends and loved ones over there in the BRAC. So his candlelight vigil will take place this evening at 8:30 at the Spot Bay Community Park. All are welcome to share words of love and remembrance, and light refreshments will be served. So for all of you over in the BRAC, this family is well known to my family, and may his soul rest in peace. Yes, so to the Turner family over there, just go and give them your support. And like I said, Philip was one of the heartbeats of Spot Bay. That's definitely, and his contribution to that community will definitely be greatly missed for sure. So, this evening, it's not your typical Friday. We always do the toast and all of that upbeat, bubbly stuff. We were expecting some guests, but they are unable to make it. So I said, you know what, why not just do a weekend review with everything that has gone on in understanding the last 24 hours, what had happened. I'll share with you some of the information as well that I got in regards to the Clifton Hunter High School allegations of a gun being reported on the campus by a student. I'll share with you what I have. Government had done their press release. The minister has done a press release as well. What does that mean? And I will be sharing that with you. But just before coming live, good evening, Marshall. Happy Friday to you, my friend. I hope that you are doing well wherever in the neck of the woods you are. Yes, I know it's getting cool. I'm hoping for you. But it's always a pleasure to have you here with us, Marshall, you and so many more. Where is my friends? I know that they'll join us momentarily. It is a Friday. I know a lot of you take a little while before you actually come on board on a Friday. I've been noticing that with you all. You all are something else. And I get it. I get it. After a long week, you just do what you got to do. But Barbara G, it's always a pleasure to have you. And yes, we are going to definitely be just doing a consolidation of this week's happenings, get your take on it, on a lot of the headlines. But let me just get to one of those subjects. Hi, Jasara. How are you, my love? It's always a good, Miss Beatrice. Good evening to you. It's always good to have you all here. Boy, you all are regulars. Hey, Miss Charlene. Good evening and happy Friday to you as well. And sorry if there's a little delay in actually what I'm doing here and you guys coming on stream. But this evening, it's just me, you, this mic, and the phone lines are open. We are going to actually be going over some of the headlines of this week's happenings. And if I have maybe a guest pop in, I would be more than happy to accommodate them as well. So yeah, but we're going to go with the flow. We're going to highlight all of the major headlines, and I have some updates with information that was shared with me even after the show. I constantly got information. I got called as well after last night's show. And I thank those parents for actually who called and who spoke up. And this is critical for us. So I want to thank all of those who participated, who shared information, and we also have some other pressing information as well here. Marshall, I'm good here in North Carolina, where we're expecting a lot of rain this weekend, all the way into mid next week. So that's going to make it really cooler for you over there in North Carolina. Thoughts and prayers for you and anyone who's in the path of those two tropical systems that let's hope it's just rainmakers. And I think the Lord has spared us this hurricane season, to be honest. We have a lot to be thankful for, but it only takes one. So Marshall, enjoy the rain, enjoy the cooler temperatures. It's been high 90s here the past couple of days. It's really been humid. And then you look at the Eastern Caribbean, some islands have been just getting hammered with rain. I know Jamaica had some issues this week as well. And they're expecting some rains in certain parts of Jamaica as well over the weekend. So good for you. Just these are the weathers that you want to do what, Marshall? Make a nice pot of chili or a good pot of salt beef and beans or a good rundown and just tuck in. I know what that feels like when those rainy days, you just want to do what we call comfort food. And that's what I love on rainy days. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to go out. I love those rainy days. Hi, Shirley. Good afternoon to you and welcome to the show. Hi, Lynn. Greetings from Belize. How is the weather there in December? Lynn, I would say it's cool. It's one thing with us here in the Caribbean. It's always we can only dream of a white Christmas, but the temperatures do subside a bit. We do have lighter winds, quite similar, I'm quite sure, to you guys, but it does get cooler in the evenings, and you don't get as much rains. But I have seen wetter Christmases, and right now it all depends on what happens in the South Florida, because we're closer to Florida. And if they get those northeasters, we are sometimes impacted what we call northwesters. But it's cooler temperatures. It's in the Cayman Islands. It's always good to be here. Like the Caribbean, we are a gem. So Lynn, let's hope you come here for Christmas and see what we have to offer. Good evening, Shaka Zulu. It's a Sabrina Nation. I like that, Shaka Zulu. Leave it to you, boy. Marshall, when it's cold, I enjoy chili. White rice. I wish I could eat some of that good salt beef and beans. Yep, I know, Marshall, the memories of the chili reminds me of Miss Kay's chili back in high school. Remember those days? OMG. Those were the best days in high school. But yeah, so hey, that can be a whole memory lane type thing with us. Yes. Lynn, oh, perfect. My girls and I are planning to visit for our Christmas break. Oh, nice. Well, you couldn't choose a better destination. But you got to go ahead now and try to lock in accommodations, because it is usually peak season for us, and that goes straight till about April. So you want to make sure you lock in your accommodations, Lynn, really early. But it's a different feeling here in the Cayman Islands, to be honest with you. But we are always welcoming of persons coming to our shore. Hi, Shaq. How are you? Good to have you here on this wind down Friday. When you all are late to comment, I feel lonely, you see. OMG, it's amazing how this interaction is. I actually look forward to seeing the regulars especially, and we're always welcoming newcomers. This is why it is so important for you to like, share, and subscribe on these links so that you can introduce this to your family and your friends. And just let them know that we are indeed voices of the islands, and we hold conversations for the world. Look at Lynn over there, all the way in Belize. We're so happy to have you. And I bet you'd be surprised how closely linked we are with cultures and flavors and all that sort of stuff. It's amazing, but we love to have you here on the Sabrina Speaks family and the CMR platform. It is always good to have you. Yeah. You got to be excited. We are all excited. Yes, I'm happy to know that. Well, I hope you enjoy your time. And I hope while you're here, you share pictures with us and definitely go back and tell your friends. I hope that you have warm interactions because just how we do it here virtually, I'm hoping you will get that same experience in person. And it just definitely, this will be some place that you always want to come back, Lynn. So yeah, we're excited. The holidays is my favorite time of the year, is for sure. And when we get people like yourselves just looking at spending your Christmas here, that warms my heart in so many ways. But yeah, go ahead, look and secure your accommodations now. Well, now let's get into some of the headlines that pretty much are very topical this week. But I want to do this because just before I went live, I'm going to post an image here because the police needs our help. Earlier today, this 21-year-old young man, his name is Jeffrey Diaz Hernandez, has been reported missing here in the Cayman Islands. And the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is actively investigating. And the report was filed by Ms. Stamp. So they are actually asking for our assistance. Jeffrey's disappearance is deeply concerning, and they want to echo the call for the public awareness of this. And if you've seen Jeffrey or have any information that you could assist in the investigation, please contact the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service immediately with every detail. Do not take anything in this case for granted. As simple as it may appear, they want you to reach out to them. This is a moment for us as a community to really come together as we normally do, not just in concern, but also in action. And we know how tight-knit Cayman is. When one hurt, we all hurt, and how powerful our collective voice can be. And in this case, just coming together. So let us help get Jeffrey back to his home, or to get somebody, to get him safe, to let him know if he's okay. And we'll continue to follow up on this story and share with you as well updates, this and many more other stories as well on the CMR platform. But police requests that anyone who has seen Mr. Diaz Hernandez or knows of his whereabouts to please call 911 or Georgetown Police Station. That's 345-949-4222. Anonymous tips can also be provided directly to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service via their confidential tip line. And that number is 345-949-7777, or via their website. Tips can also be submitted anonymously via the Cayman Crime Stoppers website, or by downloading the Cayman Crime Stoppers app. And I will share right here in the comments right now all of those numbers that I just told you. Let me post this here. Give me a second. There we go. Yeah, so let's help them in their efforts. We know you always come up front and you help out whenever we have anything like this going on locally. But this is one of those headlines, and one that came about just pretty moments before I went live. So again, confidential tip line is 345-949-7777, or you can visit their website. And tips can also be submitted anonymously to the Cayman Crime Stoppers, or you can simply call 911. If you don't remember all of this, you can call 911 to assist in all of this. But this is a young man. He is from the area that I am from right here in Prospect, and I want to do my part. And I'm hoping that he's safe, and that, this can end with a good result where we can say he's been reunited, he's been located, contact has been made with his family, and everything goes well. Some of the other information or news that has been making headlines this week, and again, please feel free, 936-8255. You know that finance committee went on yesterday. It took place from early in the morning around 10-ish, 10:30. And it went straight until they did a 12-hour day yesterday in Parliament. And first up, the Cayman Islands added an additional 107 million Cayman dollars to the 2025 budget. And we know that the finance minister who chaired that finance committee, Mr. Honorable Ralston Anglin, says that they were expecting a $10 million surplus, but that's down from the original $53 million forecast. But they're still in the black, meaning we're not in any breach of any regulations. And you've heard, if you tuned in yesterday at any point, you would have heard the questions being asked, and some of the hot topics were in regards to health. We know that off the bat has always been something funded for our seafarers and pensioners. There were some interesting questions posed by the opposition, and females standing up for those women who husbands went away to sea and they were the ones staying home and taking care of the family while their husbands were off at sea. And should anything happen in the marriage then ended, what happened to the wife that made the sacrifice? And, this was a strongly voiced on the floor from the opposition, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly from the BRAC and Cayman BRAC East. And she has been an advocate for this to be looked at, and for legislation to be into consideration, that these spouses who were the ones who held the family together, and should the marriage ended, the wives who held the family together while their husbands were at sea, and let's say the marriage ended, whatever, and they moved on, that now the benefits are seen now given to their current wife. And there's some unfairness that is being spoken about in the community, that shouldn't be the case, that these benefits should be extended to their wife that they were with, or partner that they were with during the time that they were actually at sea. So it's very interesting feedback there that was received. And we know that, for example, and I took a lot of notes yesterday, some of the funding as well went to, you hear the infamous HEA2, where it was an additional 2025, $8,250,000. And that was for additional monies, which would have made it a $28,500,000. And these numbers may sound like it's huge, but this is what I was telling you, that you can't look at doing the real numbers, to be honest with you, are something that if they had to do it at the beginning of Finance Committee, this is why these Section 12s, and I think the Honourable Minister Anglin and the Chair of Finance Committee broke it down as best as he could, explaining why these numbers cannot be given or show a true reflection from the beginning of any period, because it has to be broken up in small tranches, meaning you never get your full 100% budget, because it's hard to really forecast what the run rate would be. Even if you get close to it, there are a number of things that has to be taken into consideration when a country is doing a national budget with provisions like this to go back to Finance Committee, should certain ministries need top up. And like the culture for the minister responsible for NAU, I keep forgetting that department, that they need additional funding because this would have make up for shortfalls. And you heard the long explanation that I think it wasn't that he was tripping up over himself, to be honest. I have been placed in that position when I was there. They know that, and the chairman really handled it nicely, I must say. Not all the time you're going to get the full numbers. That would be a dream. And when it comes to funding, especially the insurance, that's hard for you to predict. You get an idea, but even if you wanted to do half of what it was from the previous years, circumstances could change, and you got to look at the priorities of the government. Now, to say that certain measures and guardrails should not be put into place, we know the importance of preventative care instead of seeing people when they're really at their lowest, so to speak, or when it's end stage. do you then make that call, like what poor Oscar DaCosta is going through from an insurance standpoint, to say, well, okay, because you're diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, the government's going to close the door and you were just going to give you palliative care without giving you hope? These are some of the things that it's hard to predict. Do you do that then with a premature baby or a baby that needs to be airlifted out? These are things that you really can't budget for, to say, well, you got a specific number, you have an idea, but then that is weighed against capital projects, operational expense, when you look at the manpower of persons or additional hires that you may have, which is why they broke down the temporary hiring freeze. So it's very interesting understanding the dynamic and the back and forth from the opposition and the government now that I'm no longer in there. And some of the things that were pointed out by members in the opposition for questions that they rightfully have the right to ask, to put into the public's domain so that they can educate, because a lot of times, a lot of these conversations are had and you, the general public, do not understand. So what you will see from the opposition side, and I was told by one of my former colleagues who's now in opposition, Sabrina, you would make a good opposition person because of how I ask questions. And I'm seeing that played out now in real time, to be honest. And I chuckled now that I can understand it more. Being here in this space, I smile, but I see what they're doing. And this is why spaces like this is so important, that I can educate you, not to really see and pick out theatrics, but so that when they're asking questions that you may think is unnecessary, they're actually trying to ask a question so certain answers will educate you at the same time. When one may say, well, when they were there, why didn't they do this? You wouldn't have asked that question if you understood what information they're trying to pull out. And many a times, things are still under investigation, but how you phrase a question to a member on the government side of the parliament will actually make them respond accordingly, or call some of the ministry team to be able to answer some of the questions, again, to educate you or to put the information in the public's domain, because usually there's a part 2 or a part 3 that will present itself. And a lot of the things that happen there are recorded and are on record. So if it is anything being said, any explanation based on numbers and all that sort of stuff is concerned, you can go back to those notes that you make. And hopefully at the end of the day, it can all make sense. So yes, it's good to know and go back to 2021, 2024, 2023. There's a reason why they go back, because it kind of should project where we're going or what to forecast. It makes predicting the future, hopefully, if you get the right numbers from the beginning, it makes forecasting for budget purposes a little easier. And then if you're saying this is just a runaway train, we got to stop this, what can you put in place and possibly bring that debt down, is what then you try to work on. But it's quite interesting and now being here to be able to watch these live proceedings, and exactly what's happening on the floor, because I better understand it, which is why I am doing my best to try and educate you as I go along on this journey. But it's very interesting. It is very, very interesting that you use the right term, number one. And number two, there's just certain questions opposition cannot ask outright because it may impact a question. You saw one question on the floor was asked, and then the chairman then asked, well, will that parliamentary question be withdrawn? That was almost playing tug of war. But there was a reason for that, because I can understand in one way what the chairman was saying, but then I also understood the perspective of the opposition when they asked, well, that all depends on whether or not my question is answered in its entirety. So based on the answer that was given by the government side, obviously the opposition member was satisfied, but that doesn't mean it don't come back up in, you have these little segues in between. You got to be able to pick it up. But to be honest with you, I found it very interesting. I'm happy that they were able to get over this finance committee meeting to take them now. Listen to this. This $107 million only takes them to the 31st of December. You may hear in the United States that the government is up for a lockdown if they don't get certain things. If this didn't get passed, it would be very much the same. You could have overseas providers for healthcare that could not get paid. You could have the interruption in Cineco access to medical care. You can have access to even salaries that could be impacted. Without this, based on the reasoning given for each of the 8 ministries or for additional funding, could be impacted. It could slow down on your road works. It could slow down on the drainage. It could slow down on dock repairs. And you heard the question asked the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. You saw what happened yesterday, which is a total different thing. Education in itself for scholarships and all that sort of stuff. So this is where you need those questions to be asked by your opposition to educate, to inform, to get information out in the public if there's some unscrupulous behavior, or maybe the watchdogs needs to pay more attention. And it really takes skill. It really takes skill to maintain a level of diplomacy, not necessarily show your hand, act within the confines of standing orders, meaning that's how you actually conduct yourself in there with respect. And even though Finance Committee is a little bit more relaxed, because you notice whenever there's Parliament, when a member want to speak, you indicate by pressing your mic, and that hopefully the Speaker of the House sees it, and you have to rise. You sit down if permission is given. Once permission is given, you rise again. Finance Committee, it's a little different. It's different. And because it's chaired not by the Speaker of the House, who in this case is a non-elected official, but if the Speaker was an elected official, was an elected official, that would have been an opportunity for them to, as well, to have been able to be present in the House, to sit down and advocate for their constituency, and be able, through one of their other, interesting, when a speaker is chosen, what side they're on. Because in that role, you have to be neutral. So if it is an elected person, you better hope they were an independent. Because then that is quite interesting. To remain neutral, that position is critical. But yeah, and it does have its own set of complexities, because the Speaker does not sit in caucus. They don't speak in cabinet. Pretty much you're independent. And that allows an environment for them to remain neutral. But I gotta be really honest with you, I'm happy that they were able to get over this, and this $107 million for the reasons outlined. And I don't have a problem. Right now, I don't think, even though this is very important because it gives you an idea of what the entire month or the entire 2025 budget looks like, it kind of sets the platform where numbers are concerned for the budget now for the 26 and 27, which is what they'll be going to Parliament for the next time to present that. So that's going to be very interesting. But this $107 million that was approved yesterday, congratulations to them for actually asking the right question, getting it out there, almost a crash course in how things should go. I'm happy that the chairman exercised diplomacy and patience, understanding the purpose of what was being displayed by members of the opposition, and for certain things to have been ventilated out there. There were some takeaways as well with who should actually be there from the government side in the event that questions are asked. I don't care how much people come down or how much people you have in your ministry. It's in your best interest to make sure there's a representative or representatives from your ministry, your councils, your boards, because you cannot predict what questions will be asked by opposition. That could come out of left field. Like they could be holding information that you weren't aware of. And sometimes you don't even know. I mean, you're like, where the heck did that come from? And then in that case, where the government is concerned, you are totally reliant on your ministerial team to be there. Many times these questions has to be asked of board chairs or representative if you're a statutory authority, like you saw what happened there with the HSA. And the allegations that is swirling around the funds that is there. And I noticed, now that triggered a thing. I noticed somebody on one of the platforms says, what do I have to say about those high fees? Let me make it clear. As the minister, not one council or board can say that Sabrina ever interfered. When I realized that there was questions and concerns about the amount of meetings that were being had and who was being asked or who was questioned for all of these meetings, what is defined by a meeting, then that was long after, to be honest, in its entirety as I've seen. What I do know when I was a minister, that there were some huge cases that came about that required the board's attention, that at many cases had to be escalated, or for my edification, for my awareness that could have serious cost implications, they had to do additional time on those. There were a number of issues, licenses from doctors being able to practice and question with incidents that happened, down to the entire case where they had the pharmacy fiasco. There was some other issues, and I'm not going to go into great detail, but when I heard the months that were called out by one member in the opposition, not a part of the opposition, I could just call it MP Chris Saunders had asked, it jogged my memory as to when that would have been, and may have been some earlier times before that. And remember, during that time, they went through a phase where they were recruiting also a deputy CEO, and there was lots of issues going on there that many times, in order for them to meet, they had to meet as a board, a whole board. This is what the investigation is for. But I know when I looked at the responsibility of those boards of directors for a statutory authority, some of the cases that they had to deal with requires a full-time job. Now, how they get paid per meeting, what is the definition of a meeting? The Honorable Minister of Health and Sustainability say that's something they have to look at. But what was approved in cabinet in March, if my memory serves me well, of 2021, was exactly how they're remunerated right now. Those monies were approved based on cabinet's directive to be paid to members of the HSA board in March of 2021. So not pointing the finger, this is just the facts. So what's Sabrina gonna say about that? That was already in place before I went. I can only give reason for what could have, for a period of time, have taken up a lot of their time. And I can't even weigh in on the JCI accreditation, because that was something that was in play before I even got into elected office. That had started. Some of the things that they had to point out, they kept failing the deadline to make sure that they could get a satisfactory approval. And there were a lot of meetings then as a new board and boards to get caught up. That's separate and apart. I'm not even looking at the JCI side of things, but there were other big cases, which I am quite sure if my honorable colleague would know in the opposition, would know that there were some other big cases that were going on that would have required their time. But I am not here to sugarcoat anything for anybody, and I am not shying away from anything that I was aware of. What happened during that time, it's not something that a minister, unless it's flagged, is even aware. And even with the whistleblower, that had been in the domain a long time before it came to my attention as a minister. And I'll leave and let the process take its course. But for anyone who's thinking what I have to say about it, that I know what's going on, people really think that ministers know every granular detail. No. And if you are doing your job as a minister where it comes to policies, legislation, and not getting into the weeds of operation, which technically would be in breach of Section 55, you're depending on your ex officio staff, your representatives on these boards and councils to come to you in a timely manner and make these allegations that has now ended up into the public's domain. Quite crafty. I smile. But yeah, until these happen, you as a minister really many a times don't know of its magnitude or how big it is. And people share information. People share information. So I'll leave that to that, but I'm hoping that that dispels of any concerns that Sabrina was a part, or I was even aware of the amounts and all that sort of stuff. No, Sabrina kept her head down, worked within her confines. And if that is why I'm here today, thank God. But I know my conscience that will work that all out. But I'm wishing them a successful next Parliament session. I was happy to be able to watch pretty much the entire event. And last night after the show, I went back and I watched it, and they were still live. And I had to smile, to be honest with you. But good show, guys. Jasaria. They also spoke about the land purchase in Cayman and where the money came from. Yeah, I saw that. But I think that some of those discussions were going on when we were doing the breaking news for the Clifton Hunter incident. But like I said, in hindsight, I went, and there's a reason for all of that, There's a reason for all of that. And when those questions are asked, trust me, 99%, the ones who are posing the question know the answer. But it's a way of educating. It's a way to getting it on record, because trust me, part 2 or 3 or 4 is yet to come. Didn't get a chance to watch it all, but was watching also. You can learn a lot of stuff by watching these things. Jasaria, thank you. You get it. This, I know sometimes the language that is used, you may not understand, but if you all tune into these broadcasts, it is amazing what you can take away. You get a better understanding. Remember now, Finance Committee, that's your money, that is your money. You need to know what's going on. And the explanation for why this minister needs this amount of money, and they have the right to ask. They have the right to ask. So I'm happy that you did. And I'm hoping that as this space continues to grow, that we will get more persons like yourself admitting that they watch and they're getting a better understanding. Hi, Miss Margie. Always good to have you. Miss Marjorie, wish it was on TV as usual. It's there. It's on the YouTube, more comfortable to watch for me. Miss Marjorie, if you can get YouTube, you can actually put that on your screen. I'm not so sure what your setup, but you can actually, but I get what you're saying through like a channel, CIG TV. I don't know if they're on Logic or what number. I wouldn't know that, but sometimes you can catch these rebroadcasts, Miss Marjorie, but it's very interesting. Hi, Connie, you're late. What's up? Where you were now, where were you? But yes, it's very interesting how that went on. But I'm happy to get this feedback that you all are watching. Yes, Barbara G, you watched the entire thing. Now you understand what I'm saying. And should there be any questions or concerns, Miss Barbara, you can always text or reach out to your representative, or you can send me a quick WhatsApp and I can feed it through to those members, because this is where we become one. When you actually invest in yourself by listening carefully to how the questions are crafted and listening to responses you get. And if they say they're going to respond back in writing, it's more than likely they don't want to speculate. And I can tell you why, because whatever they say, they can be held for what they say. So that's not the place for you to just go and answer because I'm the big bad, You want to actually have facts. And that goes for every member. So if you're not sure, or sometimes members of government will understand that it's mischief. and but they have to maintain their composure. And you can see some of them just like getting heated. But it's your money. You have the right to ask the question. And the opposition, I must say, did a darn good job at asking those questions. Be it was only one, be it was only three, it doesn't matter. The questions are there to be asked. And as annoying as it could be, being a member of cabinet, being a minister, knowing what you know, and then for these probing questions to come out because they don't want to ask it direct, but it's for you to just, I could be honest with you, 99% of the time is not to trip up the minister, you know. It's not to trip up the minister. Just let me make it clear. It's to get a message out so that you, the public, will be in the know. But it's quite interesting. Lisa, welcome. Sabrina, everybody talks. Please, how you think news gets out. Even police need people to talk. So help some. What do you mean, Lisa? About what? Yeah. People to talk to help some. Oh, is that about the young man? Okay, yes. Okay, I think you're coming in late. Yeah, we want everybody to talk. I know. But I'm hoping it's regards to the missing young man from my area. Just leaving work. Oh, well, go home and have one in the name of Sabrina Speaks, Miss Connie. Good evening, Miss Dorothy. That's right. It's our money. Okay, Lisa. Cesaria. It's also on Logic 23 and C3 Logic 3. Thank you. So, Miss Marjorie, there you got it. It's on Logic channel 23 and on C3, it's on channel 3. There we go. Oh, I love you all. You just share all this information. Late weekend till Tuesday, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Oh, well, I know you can make the best of it no matter what. Education is key, Cesaria, and that's what I'm hearing. That's why this platform is for anyone who wants to expound, give more context. This space is for them to just call in and expound. We're educating. When election come, I remember what was done from what wasn't, laugh out loud. Yeah. Again, this is one of your things that you can use, and you got what? Call it 3.5 years to go. I think I heard 48 months in total said by the Honorable Deputy Premier this morning, and 48 months. And when you do it in months, it's really not that far away. Yes. I know you, Connie. But let's see what we are next that made headlines, just for food for thought. And what are your talks on it? Kailani Hotel Projects. You may have seen that. That is the hotel before Dixie Graveyard and almost in the front of one of the entry exits to Kirk Supermarket. The Stall Kailani Boutique Hotel project, stalled, in Georgetown, is facing a wind-up petition. It says that the developers claim NCB Investments Limited owed them over $1.5 million. So this is another luxury dream, is it or will it be another financial nightmare? Now, what does that happen? What happens to our skyline? What happens to that area should they don't meet, some resolute? Will that be a construction jungle there that's sandwiching Dixie Graveyard, has really distorted our skylines forever? Will that be like the eyesore of the Hyatt that has never, ever really just standing there as a shell? Will this be one of those incomplete projects because two companies, the developers versus this investment company, is having this feud? What does that mean? At the end of the day, is this a cautionary tale for Cayman's development boom as we see it? What does it mean for our jurisdiction? Should we be more selective about who builds here? You can't, again, this is forecasting. This is hoping everything goes through without any issues. But we must bear in mind that when that particular project broke ground, it was pre-pandemic. And then the pandemic, which we knew what happened around the world, And I think a lot of people struggle to get back. Maybe this is one of their problems. So I don't know. I can't speak on it. These, again, the purpose of today's edition of Sabrina Speaks is to just bring up some headlines that caught our attention. So another one of the headlines that caught my attention was the Ministry of Education has launched the Next Gen Educators, inspired to inspire Year 13 students to explore careers in education, not just teaching, but roles like school counselors and educational psychologists. I think a lot of people, when they think like nursing, that it's limited to all the gruesomeness of body fluids, emergencies, seeing as active A&E, pathology where you work in the morgue and all that sort of stuff, bedside nursing. There's so much more to health, just as it is to education. And kudos to the Honorable Minister for doing this. And I applaud him. I applaud him for that. And would you encourage your child to pursue education as a career? Would you? And what support do you think our educators need most? Has the terrain changed in light of yesterday's event? Are we dealing with a different breed of children? What is the environment like? Do we need more robust policies? Are you going to make one incident of like that happen? Change the trajectory of your child's dream? How attractive is it? Again, and it's not limiting it to just standing up in a classroom. There are other career opportunities. I always said, when I dealt very closely, and I worked very, 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 very closely with the Cadet Corps as the Minister of Home Affairs, they are the future. And I always said, I am not here about jobs. It's about creating pathways for sustainability and for succession planning, that you can create career pathways. And I'm seeing where I'm hearing that used more instead of a job. It's careers in the industry. And kudos, as I said, to them. But it would be interesting. Would you encourage your child to pursue education as a career? I have a friend who Caymanian, who loved teaching, and for whatever reason, the environment there, it's alleged, towards Caymanians isn't very nice. And right now, that is a still young Caymanian teacher that is now no longer teaching in the classroom. And they don't want to go back there because of their experience. And that's talent that could be having our own Caymanians, teaching our Caymanians that because of the environment at that time, how they were treated, I'm getting from these personal stories, that it was a turn off, and they left teaching. And they are, honestly, when I see them interact with children, when I see them interact with their own child, that's a teacher. But what has been etched in them from their experience, they're not inclined to go back to teaching. Now, can we, with a minister that we have now, having done such a phenomenal job, we've heard that during the campaign, that he's rated as one of the best ever ministers of education, as they can look back in time, ever had. Will he be the catalyst of change now and actually open up career opportunities in the education system and see other opportunities? Are we going to see that change? Are we going to have more Caymanian teachers coming home and wanting to take into careers of education? And I'm hoping that that is the same for people in the hospital, not hospitality, sorry, into the healthcare industry, because I think that industry as well is seriously overlooked. There's so much opportunities, as I said before going into this Next Gen Educators campaign that is launched. There's so much opportunities in the healthcare industry that you don't even have to one day put your foot next to a bedside to say you're into bedside care. And I'm hoping that as we continue to evolve, as we continue to look at giving Caymanians, putting Caymanians first, that you actually create more of an atmosphere like this to put it in your face of what career opportunities could be in the education sector. Likewise, in the healthcare industry, we're seeing where real estate is going. When I had Kiara on our show, that there's great things going on in that space as well. So at the end of the day, I am really hoping that once we create this environment, that persons will not limit themselves to just working in the bank or pigeonhole themselves into lower positions, and that they will see where opportunities arise, and you don't limit. And if you don't understand it, speak to somebody who's in the industry. Go and do your own research to look at we're seeing where AI is going. We're seeing where every time, and I know a lot of you are popping up on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Christ, every scroll you scroll, there's an ad. Stop now. Stop. You can make an income. AI is taking over. And then you see actual software that you're already using that is there. That's going to be a part of, I think there's one that pops up. AI is going to be taking over in 2026. Get to know these smart apps now, or something like that. And you may think it's a bother, and you may pay all sorts of subscriptions to just try and avoid these pop-ups. There's a reason why they're in your face. We're seeing where they're making persons work smarter and not harder. We're seeing where it's honestly helping, especially small businesses, content creators like myself. It does help you a bit. And but you still have to do your own research so that when you're able to execute and deliver, you can do it with confidence. You just don't want to depend on AI because garbage in, garbage out, and you just go there and you rattle off your mouth because you want to know whether or not somebody knows what they're talking about. Throw them a question on the sideball, and if they clam up, AI. It is also alleged by some of the students. It's amazing how much these children share with their parents, and eventually they reach me. Some of the children in class right now are realizing that their teachers are using ChatGTP to give them assignments. Really, like their coursework. This is what's being told. And I mean, these children are on all of these smart apps, and they are identifying that the teacher's coursework, and it's speaking, and it's like they're chuckling to themselves, like, you think we don't know what you're doing? You just showing up at school and pretending that you're all into us when you just probably going home and putting in, what can I plan for the topic tomorrow, and put in the outline for the curriculum that you're supposed to think. But the kids are identifying that some of the homework assignments are actually ChatGTP. And these are conversations that are being had right now with parents because they're identified by their children. And they're like, how do we make the teacher know that we're on to them without coming across as rude? Now, if the students are picking up that the teacher is, quote unquote, cheating, what are you going to say if everybody comes back with the same, let's say, thesis or composition that they have to write, and they're all saying the same thing? Yeah. So that's going to be interesting as we constantly evolve in this space with the technology that is out there. And I said yesterday, what is it that we're missing from our young people? Are we not speaking the same language? And it's situations like this that these kids can pick up when a teacher is taking a shortcut, because it makes you lazy sometimes, but it's pace, but you still have to do your homework. If that is the trajectory of where we're going, then it kind of makes you wonder how we used to. When was the last time you really even used the pen to write in school? Everything now is on smart devices. You're typing, and you know how much hit I get on my hand for cursive writing? Yeah, because I couldn't do that old English style. Penmanship is beautiful, but I ended up in script, not in cursive. And I can remember just having to come home with all of those assignments. And now you literally hold a smart device up and you speak into it, and it's even typing for you. How do we embrace this as we educate the next generation? Do you consider that being a cop out? Do you see that being an easy way? Do you find then that communication with the younger generation then is changing to the point where it's almost everything is based on text? Because some of the acronyms that were being used on me yesterday for school, I thought it was just bad typing. But then I figured out, if you noticed, I was veered off here as people called in. I was trying to literally decode what these young people were saying. And there was a shortening for school. For real, I didn't know. I didn't understand. But they were having full on conversations with me. And I felt like the idiot because I was trying to say, well, what are you trying to say? Oh, that was a typo. Maybe they're typing fast. No, Sabrina, they were not typing fast. That's what I got after the show. Oof. They were actually speaking to you, but they were just shortening it. I felt foo-foo, you see? Now, can you imagine what that is like now when they're even sit down to try and have a conversation with their parents, who for me for a minute stunned me for a while yesterday because it took me that much longer to even understand what they were saying. And these kids will laugh at you behind your back. And this is where I'm saying we need to at least catch up with them. We need to find out where we can fill that gap, because it took me for a tailspin yesterday. I could be honest with you. Yep. So far, so good, Miss Marge. Dean, I hope enough money is allocated for DOH. I see DOE, you mean? I see the garbage has been picked up in some areas this week. The DOE, Dean, I don't know. I wasn't aware that there was collection issues. But yeah, there weren't on for additional funding, though. That did not come across, to be honest. I'm not for the explanation given. That was not a part of those appropriations for yesterday for DOE at all. But I'm hoping whatever has happened that they will get back on schedule quick enough. Jacob, awesome stuff. Hi, Mitzi. Hope you're having a good weekend or start to the weekend. Miss Rose agrees with whatever I was saying. There's an AI artist, Zona Monette, who signed a $3 million contract. The songs are so nice. Really? Okay, interesting. A lot of careers are in technology. Yes, Roseanne, that's so true. And I think we're cutting ourselves short. And many of them, they don't have to leave their homes because they're all exactly as they are, remote. And are we holding ourselves back? And I feel the one who has to play catch up is persons like myself, the older persons. And I was speaking to a younger man who came to, who I engaged with earlier this week. And he said, he was made as polite as he could, but when he identified my age and I was telling him I was dealing with Canva and I was dealing with this and I was doing, he says, you know, miss, I applaud you older people who actually are getting into technology. That was the first time in a long time I had felt like I was a living fossil. Yeah, but he was so polite. But he was actually excited that I was aware of some of these apps and that I was using some of the apps to lighten the weight. But not only that, so that I can keep up to speed, because if you think it's not coming, it's not slowing down. And how we embrace it will actually impact our well-being, our way of life, and how we even do business, how we conduct business. I'm not that comfortable all now, even trying to do some modifications here. I tell Sandra all the while, I said, that's all I had to do. I said, I'm scared to press that icon because I don't want, I still have a little bit of anxiety when it comes because I don't want anything to go wrong. And this space pushed me to want to know more of these apps and to know more about this platform. And every day something is updating, every single day. So once you're in it, it's easy, but you got to make that first step, to be honest with you. So I don't want any of you to be scared. If I can do it, you can do it too. Now let's go on to another headline that we saw making the headlines this week. It says Labor Court urges media push. Interesting. The Court of Appeal has nudged the Department of Labor and Pensions to use more media. Let me repeat it. The Court of Appeal has nudged the Department of Labor and Pensions to use media more aggressively to encourage early reporting of pay breaches. Did you hear what I said? The Court of Appeal is asking for the same labor department. Remember, I had 2 shows on that? Is asking for the Department of Labor and Pensions to use media more aggressively to encourage early reporting of pay breaches. Now, we have heard the stories here that has been shared with us. But I know plenty of you out there who are right now being faced with wage issues. It's not about the aggressive way of using media. That can be taken and be looked at in different ways. People's complaint with the DLP is similar to what we're hearing with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, that they're not treated with respect or dignity. And in the event of DLP, that confidentiality is an issue, fear of retribution is an issue, and the fear of just knowing their rights because of how confidential their nature of their complaint could be, and maybe whatever hardships they're being faced with in their country of origin. So this is quite interesting based on the amount of discussion we have already had on this platform in regards to breaches of pension, breaches in terms of conditions of their hire, failure to pay into pensions, for example, while deducting from their salaries. And they're calling for persons to report pay breaches more. But what happens when you're then bullied by your employer that they have friends in immigration, that nothing will become of it? Or better yet, they have friends in government. Their government is in now and they're untouchable. Or based on a certain connect, nothing will happen to them. Even if you go to make a report, what's going to happen? They will just make the environment around you very uncomfortable. And then what? Then what? You're lost without a job. And now you're hearing immigration reform that you have to remain with your employer. One of the recommendations is that you have to remain with your employer for 2 years, if you're on a work permit, that is, for 2 years before you can change employer. Outside that, you go home for 6 months before you can get a new employer. But here you are, have the Court of Appeals nudging for the DLP for people who are faced with not getting paid. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place. Is this opening up the room for unscrupulous employers now? Should that recommendation see the light of day? Does that create, or is that creating an environment now for unscrupulous employers to treat their employees even more badly because they know, look, you locked in, you ain't going nowhere. And some people are not as vocal. Some people are timid. They're in another person's country, and they will suck it up, knowing that they're being taken advantage of because of pay breaches in pension. Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, would you it would be interesting how this one plays out. And again, the phone lines are open. I don't have a guest today. What do you think about this? I'm late, but you're listening. Nice, Miss Rose. Good to have you here. Always good. Tasha, may I please, I think that's be controversial. Whilst I truly appreciate Miss Sabrina for doing this show, why was all this information and advice not given when she was in office? I got on to you, Tasha. I fully support what Sabrina is saying, but upset that she did not say all of these things while she was in office. Tasha, Tasha, my love. Tasha, Tasha, Tasha. How are we going to do it? You see members of the opposition trying to do it now, and you notice how they're walking on eggshell. They're trying to educate. They're trying to educate. And because of how they need to conduct themselves, Tasha, in Parliament, they can be stopped from speaking. It's not that Sabrina didn't know it. I just had to conduct myself in a certain way. Now, hold on. For those loyal persons of Prospect who showed up to my meetings that I had at Seafarers and any other event that I had, they were educated. I used those meetings and I educated them. Yeah. I told them how the process works with the cabinet paper. I told them based on what was topical at the time. But many a times, if I had 7, I had a lot. When you have a Mother's Day event, when you have a back to school drive, when you have a Christmas event, you wouldn't have wanted me there when I got the crowds going through this 411. They wouldn't do it. So now that I am no longer shackled or subjected to a certain standard, that's why this platform is here. But I want you to really be able to not miss the forest for the trees, Tasha. There's a purpose for me being here. Good evening, caller. You're live. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina MP. Kenneth Bryan here. How are you?
Yeah, I want you to answer this. Because then you get 2 sides. That's why your call is perfect. Your timing is perfect.
I said to myself, I said, oh, I wonder how that feels to be free from shackles.
Yes, priceless.
Because, and sadly, most people may not understand why we're laughing so hard and what the joke is here. But I see you are doing a very good job enlightening, trying to get them to understand the nuances of what happens internally. You try to be delicate and diplomatic about things. I had to call them because you're doing so well today, and I think people are going to be more and more informed with your show as you grow. But it just reminded me of a conversation today. Obviously, you watched Finance Committee last night.
Yeah. I did. Even though because of the middle of my show, I had to stop and then I played catch up afterwards.
Yeah. So today, the government, rightfully so, went on the radio Cayman and explained what happened and so forth. And then somebody sent a message in to say, because we spoke about this thing with the pond at the airport.
With the birds. Yeah, I didn't catch that one. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so basically, there is 2 ponds at the end of both airports, one in Cayman and one in Little Cayman. And the ponds have the bulrush in them. And the bulrush obviously is a very good plan for keeping the environment clean and the water lens clean and all that. But it's also an area where parhikites and birds go and live. Now, granted, we all love the environment. We all love birds. And by no means, nobody intentionally wants anything to happen to them. But then you have to think about the risk of human life. God forbid if one of those birds go into an engine of one of the planes taking off or landing, I don't have to say any more to that. I think people will get the picture. So I brought it up today or yesterday as to say, please, Minister for Tourism, he's Minister for Cayman Airways, try to work with your colleagues to get this resolved. The ponds need to move.
Right.
And I got the CEO for Cayman Airways to explain the risk at hand. So somebody must have sent a message in. Naturally, the politics is what it is, so I'm not mad about it. But
yeah.
It's in context of what you said today. They called it, or they sent a message saying, well, why didn't Kenneth do something about that then? And it goes right back to what you're saying now, which is I was the minister for Cayman Airways and the Airports Authority, but there was a different minister responsible for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And if that minister doesn't support me to try to get the pond moved
Mm-hmm.
and is more focused on the environment and the birds,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't get approval to move the pond, then the risk is always still there.
Mm-hmm.
And these are stuff I can't say that when a minister say, "Oh, my other minister not supporting me to move the safety risk,"
Correct.
because the focus is more on the environment. Granted, naturally, I love the fact that there has to be protectors for the environment, but I also had to protect human life as the minister for Cayman Airways back then.
Mm-hmm.
So people didn't know that because we obviously, as a government, we didn't want everybody to know our differences and we don't come out publicly.
Mm-hmm.
So this gives an example of what that person just sent a question to you
Mm-hmm.
to say, well, why didn't you say all this then?
Can't.
Well, because there's some things you can't say.
You can't.
There's just some things you can't say. And if you say it, then they're fighting with one another.
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be differences, right? And not all things are that are talked about. We tell the public in even the good things and bad things and the difficult things. So I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought it's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I am still shackled, my friend. So you enjoy.
Hold on. You see what Mankind is saying? My question is, Kenneth, those ponds were there while you were minister. What happened?
Correct.
What happened?
Correct. I thought I explained that, but I can say it again.
Go ahead.
So basically, the ponds were there when I was minister. I was the minister for Cayman Airways as well as Airports Authority. But in order for you to remove a natural water area like that, you have to get permission from DOE, which falls under a different ministry. And if DOE says no, then I can't move the pond. That's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
If they understand.
But they're asking now, but you can say it now. Really? As in, why are you now able to speak on it? Is it because you're in opposition and you're not a cabinet minister? Is it because the players that are around the table now are different? I'm just, it's popping up on the screen, but you can say it now. Really?
No. I can say it now because I'm no longer part of the government, and it won't look bad if I'm
to throw your own colleague under the bus.
Correct. That's my point. So if I said it then, I'd be like, yeah, Minister, I don't want to call the name because I don't want to get into a fight with the person now, but the Minister for Environment won't allow me, or his team won't allow me or support me to move the pond, therefore I can't move the pond. So one ministry depended on the other. So if I said that publicly, then it would have been, oh, I'm fighting with my colleague. You see, I don't know if that answers the person's question, but it's not like I was going, oh, I brought it up as a problem from before.
So what are you expecting to happen now because it's rubbish?
Well, I have the opportunity last night to say how severe the risk was, put it out there in the public domain that the new minister, Mr. Ruddy, may still have the same problem with the Minister of Environment saying, no, we will not support the ponds being moved. But what I was able to do last night, now that I'm in opposition, is open it up to the public so everybody can see it. And as I said last night in my argument, I said, listen, if on a don't remove the pond and those birds are still there, God forbid something happens, today is a public record that you were forewarned and the public here is hearing us today. Mm-hmm. So that's the opportunity, the freedom you have being in the opposition to highlight that to the public. Because before, the public didn't know about the struggle between the two ministries and that there was a severe safety risk to Cayman Airways with bird strikes.
Mm-hmm. But now, I think what the seed that you were able to plant last night is we have to outweigh safety versus the environment.
Correct.
That was a takeaway that I got from your argument, how you crafted your question. So it's about your colleague or the safety of the people that matters. Well, Mankind, to be honest, this is what that was a takeaway message to the Honorable Deputy Premier, now that he's the current Minister of Tourism, that he actually look at the risk of danger, put all personalities aside, but there is an obvious risk versus the environment in this particular case. That is that's what I'm getting. All right, thank you.
I appreciate Mankind's question. I don't take any miles from it. I'm glad it gave me an opportunity to clarify so people can understand.
There
Thank
you
you so
go.
much.
You're welcome. Have a good Friday. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Hey, Sabrina, it's Johan Moxham. How you doing?
Hey, I'm fine, thank you. Whoo, my God, what I got drink a little bit of thing, a little. I got drink. Johan, you call. Mm-hmm.
No. Just always listen to your show.
Who you got blaze up today? I
no,
use
not
that on
blazing up.
you.
It's not a question of blazing up. It's just that, to hear the former minister speak just now and offer his explanation, all fair and good. But I just want to say this. Just because you're no longer a minister doesn't mean that things that you say in the House in Finance Committee or Public Accounts Committee or any other committee, just because you're now no longer shackled by by having a collective voice, doesn't mean that the individuals and the comments that they make or the questions that they ask are 100% valid, because there were some flagrant and deliberate misrepresentations made yesterday in the proceedings, especially when it came up to the IAA and Cal and everything else. And I get that you've got to defend yourself and you got to defend your paycheck because you're still elected and so on and so forth. But I would ask the member, the former minister, or anybody else that's elected, don't take liberties and think that because you say it on the floor in a subcommittee that people don't pay attention and know the truth, because it will be most embarrassing if I just wake up one day and say, I've had enough of this foolishness now, and I'm going to tell the other side of the story. Because what happens is nobody in a position of power that loses power seems to be prepared to go, hey, maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I could have done that better. There's always somebody else to blame. But if you are in a position of power for 4 years and you have the ability to appoint and remove and so on and so forth, and choose not to do so, but then turn around and blame persons in positions that you've appointed when you have the ability to remove them. And I know for a fact that multiple times, and I'm talking more than 5-6 times, the conversation was had to remove me from the Airports Authority Board. You now can't go back after you've lost your chair in cabinet or seat in cabinet or position in cabinet and pretend as if, you didn't have the ability to make corrective measures. What really disappoints me is I don't wish any of them any harm. Some of them are good people. Some of them are just downright pirates that would never make a living or have the standard of life that they have if they weren't elected to office, because with that comes a whole lot of perks, a whole lot of temptations, and more importantly, people are prepared to help you get a leg up when you're elected, or especially when you're in cabinet in a position of power. But what's disappointing is you can't think that just because you're on a committee, a finance committee or public accounts committee, that you can take liberties and assume that people aren't paying attention, because just like how they can tell a story, and I can say categorically, some of what was said yesterday was nothing but flagrant and deliberate lies to safeguard themselves, their position, and their own reputation. They need to be careful, because there's another side to this story, and people will eventually get enough. And when I say people, I will no longer tolerate for anybody to blackguard, misrepresent, and blatantly lie in order to cover their own ass. I'm just not going to tolerate that, because just like how they have a story to tell, I have a story to tell that's even better. And I'm not trying to win an election, and I'm not concerned if I'm on the board. I'm just not going to be allow myself or the members of our committee to be castigated because a minister failed to do their job and protect all of their interests in the way that they should. And it's important to highlight, a lot of efforts are made about we got to protect this and we got to protect that one and we got to protect this. But as Minister J. Ebanks pointed out yesterday, when you have multiple interests, multiple responsibilities don't you think that your responsibilities include safeguarding and protecting the interests of all of those things? You can't just have one favorite child and leave the other three children behind. Everybody got to eat. Everybody needs a rain jacket. Everybody needs support, and so on and so forth. So I would just say, all of the brilliant people that have a story to tell, now that they're no longer in a position of power or cabinet and all the rest of it, as your friend and as a concerned citizen, you can say what you want, but I will not allow anybody to take liberties and misrepresent the facts on what really transpired, because just like how they have a tongue and they have a brain, I have one as well, and I have nothing to lose, because there is no seat for me to win. There is no need if the minister of the day decides, Johan, we're not interested in you serving in that capacity anymore. I'm comfortable in that, because those positions don't define me. The individuals that are still in office, desperate to rejoin the government and making every effort to find themselves back into a position of power. And let's face it, Sabrina, you and I know this. There are no secrets in the Cayman Islands, but there are no secrets in politics. None whatsoever. So
eventually they'll come out.
I'll just say this. Everybody enjoy the weekend.
Hold on. You don't leave yet, because I got 3 requests for 3 kabooms, but I'm going to give you 2 because I don't want to hurt my ear.
No. All I would say is,
I only giving you 1 too.
no, that's fine. Giving me 1, but I don't do it for the. How does the song go? I don't do it
for the likes.
I don't do it for the likes.
Do it for the likes. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. All the rest of it. All I'm saying is, these guys need to be careful, because if they continue to knock on that door, the same puppet that lick in your face, they turn around and bite you. And I am no longer going to tolerate them taking liberties and taking the piss when I know what the truth is, because the truth is going to embarrass them. Because nobody needs to like me. Nobody needs to think that Johan is a big teddy bear, because I'm really not. I'm good with the people that know me. I'm good with the people
who
that
loves
like
brownies.
Me, but I am no longer going to allow the previous caller or anybody else to take the piss and misrepresent the facts, because the facts are going to embarrass them once I start talking the stuff that I know. So, Mr. Brian, I wish you all the best. We talk basketball, we talk sports and everything else, but what you did yesterday was, I thought you were bigger than that. Now that I know you aren't, I'm taking this opportunity to say, let bygones be bygones, cut your cloth accordingly, because the next time you take the piss, I will be responding with facts and details, and it won't be pleasant. So,
caller, I've gotten a message directly from him. Tell him I said to feel free to tell it all.
Listen, he's the tough guy. He's the brightest guy in the room. He's the only guy that can read. Best of luck to you, Mr. Brian. You're not the worst person in the world. You just think that you're cute and you're always looking attention. I didn't call in today for attention. I called in because the public need to know not everything that is said in the House, not everything that is said on the floor of the Assembly, not everything that is said in a subcommittee is factual. People bend, twist, and basically invent an angle to suit their storyline, because the storyline now is very different from the storyline back then. And people do whatever it takes to defend themselves and that big paycheck that they get. So I'll leave you with that and wish everybody a great weekend.
Thank you, caller. Take care. And I got another request for another kaboom. Look, I do what I got to do here, and say what you have to say. That may be another episode. I would love to have a roundtable discussion with the two of you, to be honest with you. I would love to chair that discussion. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening. I said I wasn't going to call again, and the beat me to wait with the kaboom, but he need another one. From me, he need the third kaboom. I agree with you. And all I got say, I'm listening, is what he say. I just put in this little piece because what he said about Minister J, say everybody got to eat, but I want Minister J to hear this, that everybody need a talk, and I need one. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
I'm begging no more, because on our bed. They offer it to us, but we can't get it. But that's all I'm saying. And I'm not calling and I saw message that person, but all no, 3 messages, no, they didn't answer me. They not gonna answer me. I tell you. But I gonna listen. What it says? See no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. Well, that's what I gotta do from now on because they don't want me to go off on them. Because like I tell my daughter today, she called me back again and whatever, and I tell her, I say, and I get accused of calling people names, and I now call no name, but if they want me call names, I will start. And I can don't tell her, I like what cousin Boot used to say, what I know, and it will be no rumor from no Mar Road or no Rock Road or no Bush Road or whatever. It would be from fact and whatever, and I don't want to go to them because it would be stink. They say the more you stir shit, the stink I get. So this one would be stink. So I keep in my cool. So I don't tell them by the help of God, I will survive. God for us all, and I will survive. And I don't want to hear nothing out of none of them no more because I done say what I had to say, and that's how they hear what I never say. I hope they hear what I say. And you say, Andre say about how many months, whatever, but it can be less than that. But I know I am done. They may get one time to bait me, and I try to avoid that. But if they get the one time, they ain't get the second time because they wouldn't know who my mother was. She was the nicest person, but you don't mash her corn because when she said that's it, and that's how I am.
Okay, thank you, caller. Hope that message is received. Yes.
Listen and see, and I know plenty. I could be plenty help for plenty things in this island, but no, they say see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So that's it, and I got nothing more to say. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Have a good weekend. You're in tune to Sabrina Speaks, the Friday edition, where today's episode is putting the spotlight on a lot of the headlines that made its way to the table this week. But I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, if you're importing vehicles or even dealing with customs and border for if you're someone who's operating a boat, fees have just gone up. Yeah. So I want you to stick with me because if you didn't know, you will know it here. Imports on all vehicles, including gas-powered, hybrid, and electric, will now be subjected to an environmental taxes based on cost, insurance, and freight. That's the ICF. Those fees, I'm going to get into that in a little bit more when we come back. So stick with me, please. I'll be right back.
Infrastructure is more than roads and buildings.
It's our lifeline, connecting East End to West Bay, Cayman to Little Cayman, and the Cayman Islands to the world.
It established the route to get our children to school, keep our hospitals powered, and support our businesses every day.
Through hard work, ingenuity, and perseverance, people make that happen.
From the early pioneers who paved the first paths and laid the first pipes,
to the innovators who modernize water, energy, telecoms, ports, and our airport.
They're the quiet hands that build resilience.
And the vision that keeps Cayman going strong.
Now it's our turn to recognize them. Know someone who built, maintained, or improved the Cayman Islands we love?
Nominate them today at gov.ky/YSCH. Click Nominate today.
And welcome back. Yes, I hope you follow that. And I'm going to be making sure that I play this because I don't want to hear anybody say when Heroes Day of next year come that somebody was overlooked. We're definitely going to make sure that we keep you updated and informed right here on Sabrina Speaks and all of your CMR TV platforms so that no one is overlooked. And I'm hoping that you will find these infomercials very informative. It is self-explanatory, easy broken down. But should you have any discussions, again, or any questions, further concerns, or even difficulties in doing this online, the numbers are there. You can call out for more information. Now, just before that break, I said that vehicles, environment, taxes. I know you all feel like, oh my God, she used the word tax. What's going to happen? Under the Customs Tariff Amendment Schedule Order of 2025, all imported vehicles, gas power, hybrid, or electric, will now be subjected to an environmental taxes based on the cost, insurance, and freight. Now, That's the value. That's how you're going to be charged. CI $1,000 for vehicles that are valued $79,999 or less will now be the fee, environment fee, and $2,000 for vehicles valued at $80,000 or more. Okay. So if you're bringing in a gas-powered, hybrid, or electric vehicle, these vehicles will now be subjected to an environmental taxes based on their cost, insurance, and freight value. So for a vehicle that's less than $79,999, it will be an additional cost of $1,000 CI. And for any vehicle valued at that total amount combined of $80,000 or more, then there will be a $2,000 fee applied. Now, exemptions only apply if importation process begun before October 1st. Okay. So if you started this process before, if it's en route or whatever, but anything after October 1st, and you can provide supporting documents that this was submitted to CBC. Now, that's the key. If it's not submitted on the CBC portal before October 1st, these new fees are going to apply to you. Am I making it clear? So if it even goes in on October 1st, you're subjected to these fees, right? Because these fees now comes in effect as of October 1st. So you have till the end of September to submit your application to avoid this $1,000 or $2,000 fee that's going to be added there. And there's also information in regards to border control regulation and administrative penalties. Now, the Customs and Border Control, that is visa entry and landing amendments regulation of 2025, they also introduced a new enforcement mechanisms. So let's say you have for vessel masters and boat captains, fines will now be imposed for bringing passengers or crew without valid entry documents. Could be suspected for human trafficking. So these masters, these vessel masters or boat captains can be, if they're found, bringing passengers or crew without valid documents, they are subjected to fines. And attempting to present false documentations, these penalties will aim to deter, this is the aim of it, human smuggling, as I alluded to from the get-go, and strengthen border integrity. Okay. Now, for parents, this is another big thing. For parents of non-Caymanian children born here in the Cayman Islands, and to be honest with you, whether or not you Caymanian or not, I feel this should go straight across the board. But let me just stick to the facts. For parents of non-Caymanian children born locally, so if you're here on a work permit, the child is not Caymanian, 2 foreigners have a child, mandatory reporting of births to CBC within 3 months is now going to take effect. And failure to report this may result in new fines. And this is reinforcing accountability and proper immigration documentation from the time of birth. So, especially for those non-Caymanian persons who has a child here in the Cayman Islands, to avoid being fined within 3 months from the date of that child's birth, you need to attend CBC and report that birth. Because even though, okay, Romelia is asking for a kaboom. Because these fines can be levied not just on individuals, but also on their employers. Okay? And anyone who knowingly assists or causes a person to overstay. Now you may say, well, who the heck is this child taking a job from? I just had the baby here, and oh, I'll just keep them here because I'm not going back to my country of origin until, let's say, Easter, and 6 months pass, 8 months pass, and I'm just too busy being a new mom or whatever. This child is not causing no problems. They're not going to break into anybody's house. Guys, it's against the law. It is against the law. And these provisions are put in place that you have to now be accountable for going in, making the report, and what is called regularizing that baby. It means the baby has an identity. You may say, well, even though the child is born here, the child is not Caymanian. How am I going to get a passport? They are going to have a passport. I'm going to have to go back to my country. And, my country is going to thousands of dollars, or maybe 45 minutes away. We don't know. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter. The child does not require a passport from your country in order to be regularized. You see, when you come in on the plane and they give you that white paper that you fill out your name, your address, your passport number, and all that sort of stuff. In this case, there wouldn't be a passport number because the child would not have a valid travel document yet. Okay? Don't pay all of that any mind. You would then go in with the child's birth certificate. The child would be entitled to get a birth certificate from Cayman to show that the child was born here. But even if you don't want to go through all of that, they just want you to go to CBC. The important thing is to report there. Hoping, and I hope, oh my God, my mind just went crazy. Hoping that the name, if you haven't gone to get a certified birth certificate or a birth registration within this 3-month time, that the name that you put in immigration system will match with the birth certificate. Because we don't want them going to CBC and saying, this is what I'm going to call my baby. And then that's one identity there. But then you go and register it to get a birth certificate, because even though the birth certificate does not make the child of 2 foreign nationals a Caymanian, it's still required even for your own country of origin. The birth certificate doesn't make that child a citizen of the Cayman Islands, especially if both parties are on a work permit or one or more do not have Caymanian status. Okay? So I'm hoping that this process, the key takeaway without getting into the technicalities, once you give birth here in the Cayman Islands and you know you are not a Caymanian, that child is not a Caymanian, okay? Go down to CBC and report the birth. And if you think you're Caymanian, go down to, for yourself, to double check if you are. So that there's no mistaking with the new birth. Within 3 months, within 90 days, go down to CBC and make sure you get the right information. If it is a case that they then tell you, just hop across the road and go and register with the birth registration that has the baby's name or the name of the mother at the time of birth. There's a process that is happening on the wards when you have birth. That tells you the baby's, I think, blood type 2 at that time, and it links the child with the parents. You take that over and you register the child then, let's say, over at registry. And they may tell you to come back over. But they call it an ED card, that white form that has the name, date of birth, place of birth. And you may say, well, what's the nationality? What am I going to put there? The nationality automatically takes the nationality of the mother. But the child was born in Cayman. The nationality, because you're a non-Caymanian, of the baby becomes the nationality of the mother. Okay? But I don't want you to overthink that. I don't want you to take away from what I'm saying here. The point of this is that parents of non-Caymanian children born in the Cayman Islands, that includes Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, which we hope none are born in Little Cayman. We hope that they're born either in Cayman Brac or they're over here in Grand. But it doesn't matter. Parents of non-Caymanian children born locally, it is mandatory reporting of births to CBC within 3 months. And failure to may result in new fines, reinforcing accountability and proper immigration documentation from birth. And for overstaying, new fines can be levied not just on individuals, but also on employers. Okay? We don't want, oh, this was an oversight. I forgot. I didn't realize. I didn't understand the process. That's not going to get away. So anyone who knowingly assists or causes a person to overstay, this expands liability and encourages proactive compliance. Okay? Now, as it pertains to visa, the term renewed in this law, renewed, and this is Visitors Work Visa. You may see the acronym VWV has been removed. The term renewed has been removed. And CBC may grant or extend a visitor work visa, not renew it. So instead of saying, I want to renew my visitor work visa, no, the term extend will now be used. And it clarifying the scope of discretion and preventing misuse of that facility. The facility meaning a visitor's work visa. Now, according to the Honorable Minister, Nicholas DaCosta, these updates, as I hoped I went down as granular as I could, will actually assist in modernizing the outdated fee structures, ensure that fair cost sharing on border services as well. And it will also enhance national resilience and security, and with hopes of promoting sustainable and credible border system. Now, this all ties in again to national security. What's Sabrina talking about again? For you to get a finger on the pulse, can you imagine how much babies may have been born here that is still probably here? That's 5-6 months. I have remember in my days of being an enforcement officer, there was a child that was here for 5 years. And something happened to the child, medical wise, and that was when, out of nowhere, that they caught on that child. I mean, at the end of the day, the child then wasn't even going to school. But that's the worst case of a child on not being reported in the Cayman Islands that I recall in my days of being in immigration. That kid was 5 going on to 6 when they surfaced. And I think it was a neighbor that blew the whistle that this child was just there during the days, not going to school, and something did not add up. And yeah, so it can happen, and it's easy to happen with children, like I said, because they're not out there working. They're not out there having an affair. They're not taking away somebody's husband or somebody's wife. So they can actually get away very easily unless there's a medical emergency or something. But then it gets a little tricky then when it comes to school. So it's quite easy. Kudos to the team, to be honest. I don't know what I said, but Joyce, and you trouble. Oh, because I'm taking away somebody. You brute. But yes, it's very interesting. Kudos to the team for actually doing this. Romelia, who puts them up? Who they are staying with should be charged as well. Yeah, well, I think that isn't limited, Romelia, with what is said here. Anyone who is found, this says employers or anyone who knowingly, the word anyone, Romelia, in this case is used, anyone who knowingly assists or cause. You see the power of words? Let's say an employer holds somebody's passport, which, for the record, unless you're a law enforcement officer, your employer has no right to be holding your passport. I'm speaking to all of the foreigners out there now. They have no legal right to be holding onto your passport. So let's say that is a case where they're holding it because you failed to pay for your own work permit or assist with funds for the trade and business license in order to put in your work permit or your renewal or whatever the cause may be, or that there's a relationship that went bad and they're going to hold on to your passport. There could be a plethora of reasons why I would, well, not me, your passport may be held. But we're going to stick to employers now. Or let's say the employer asked you for your passport because they were going to go down and get your work permit stamped in, knowing well that you filled out all the forms, hoping that the application was in. And because it was a renewal, you trust the employer and time has passed and the work permit didn't get submitted, but you don't even have your travel document and you were unaware. Both parties right now there too, with a strong case of both parties trying to defend each other, can be held accountable. So Romelia, to you, it says employers and anyone who causes, who knowingly assist or cause a person to overstay. So this is not limited to only employers. This could be to landlords too. We don't know what the agreement is. We have no clue. Yeah. So I'm hoping that this policy intent will yield, but we got to start from somewhere, to be honest. And I hope that, again, kudos to the ministry team for doing this, for wanting to do this. Guess who's responsible for making sure now that it's enforced? Aha, the operational arm. Yeah. The minister has done his part. The ministry has done their part. It is the relevant government department operational side of it now is responsible for making sure that this is complied with. So again, if you didn't know, now you know. Dean, it should be mandatory for doctors, hospitals, or registry to make CBC aware. Government shouldn't wait on a parent to do so. That's something that could actually be considered for True Dean, where there's a reporting, either a quarterly or quarterly reporting, or do something per month. That is a whole different department right there that you could have a liaison person or persons go to the various medical facilities that we have here. And it shouldn't be that hard because it's not like we're some countries that have 100 hospitals or facilities where you have childbirthing, even though you can have these persons where you can actually have home birth with guided persons before you. Nevertheless, they have their responsibilities if you were to do a home birth with these. There's a word that I'm trying to find. Whatever. But what I'm saying is, especially the 3 facilities, Health City, Cayman Islands, Georgetown Hospital, and Chrissy Tomlinson. Oh, and I heard too. Yeah, I think they got Chrissy Tomlinson. They're now accredited. Mm-hmm. Yeah, congratulations, guys. I digress. But yeah, they should be mandatory to report. I stand to be corrected if there isn't something. But for this purpose of immigration, and if you really want to get full circle, I think it would be good for CBC to actually have 1 or 2 liaison persons that is specifically what they do. And then they can compare that then, let's say, with immigration to see if it maths out at the end of the day with what is recorded between these 3 facilities within the period of time. Then that's a whole different department. Wow, that would be interesting. Stuff like that I would like to do to see how it math. The math will math, I can tell you that. Hi, Jackie. Tasha, a passport is a travel document which can only be held by a government. Thank you for confirming that, Tasha. Yes, you're quite right. But sometimes employers hold it. Sometimes baby mamas, baby daddies do it to, and many times for mischief. And that's illegal. That's illegal. So whatever, at the end of the day, the only person who's allowed to hold your passport is a government official, and that's either CBC themselves or the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service for whatever reason, or the courts as well. So anybody else that has your passport, and that's against the law, you can't do that. So it's going to be interesting. But kudos to the team. And I hope that clarified it, Romelia. But that's an idea where they can have somebody do that sort of stuff, and then we get it out there. They will withhold it illegally. It needs to be reported to the police. Again, there you have it, right here. There you do. It's funny, Miss Rose, that you actually went here. Water Hotel View Planning is doing some stupid approvals for construction. Cayman Planning, they come down on the unfortunate people that trying to build a house on their own and doing a piece on like an add-on piece. Okay, I see what you're saying. 6:54. Let's kind of go into this that I know is sparking outrage, and it really have some people blood boiling, to be honest. This hotel construction on the ocean side that sparks rage, and I'm quite sure you've seen some of these pictures. Let me put one of them up here. It's gotten a lot of us talking, and it actually has a lot of us angry. And you would see this image here has surfaced of construction happening on the ocean at Grand Hyatt Hotel. That's the one now that we call Pageant Beach. That's more next to the wharf. And yes, it is pretty much in the water, in the ocean. And the Central Planning Authority granted permission back in 2018. It is alleged that, or is said that back in 2018, Central Planning Authority granted this in 2018, ignoring the Department of Environment's warning not to waive the high water mark setback. Now, look at the result. And Legal Construction and Marine Park, that was known to be out there with conservation officers confirming that there is activity on the iron shore above the main high water mark. Now, the DOE can't intervene because their recommendations were never adopted. What do you think about that? Here's another image. What do you think about that? The result, legal construction in a marine park with conservation officers confirming activity on the iron shore above the main high water mark. And the DOE can't intervene because their recommendations were never adopted. So what's your take on this? Is development progress or environmental negligence? Should precedent justify future harm? And who should be held accountable when laws allow damage? You know, because this is something, you know. And when you look at this story just doesn't, it isn't about the hotel in itself, in my humble opinion. It's about the limits of our National Conservation Act. And I know there's going to be some divide here. The power of planning boards and the future of our coastlines. And if you care about Cayman's marine heritage or exactly what we're seeing displayed here, this is a time to speak up, I guess. But it's a delicate balance because it's like people are saying my voice is not being heard. Like, you know, nobody cares. But, you know, what do you think then that if it's approved by planning that it must be environmentally safe? What are your thoughts there? But if DOE gave recommendations and they weren't even followed, then the reality of that is that approval by the CPA doesn't guarantee ecological safety. That is just facts. And that the DOE often provides expert recommendations, but then again, they're either not accepted or they're ignored. And in the Grand Hyatt case, the CPA waived the high watermark setback despite of the DOE's warnings. Yeah. So everything pretty much that they're doing there right now is totally legal. Yeah, it's totally legal. So it's, and then would you then question construction above the high water mark? Does it affect the ocean? Duh. Yeah, it does. And in this case, well, it's not the ocean, it's the iron shore, Sabrina. What are you talking about? The iron shore and the adjacent, I used to swim down there, and the adjacent marine areas are, not being a scientist, but it's just common sense, are ecologically lined We know that. Will this be a repeat of what's happening at the Marriott eventually? We see the sinkhole that is forming over there. Is it in Thailand? I stand to be corrected. But even if works is technically above the marine high water mark, you're talking about runoff, sedimentation, and the destruction of the coastal habitats that can actually have a rippling effect on our marine ecosystem. So this is just a beginning of things to come, in my humble opinion. And is it too late? Funny, Dean, but good question. Dean Gillette is saying, that is the new dock for cruise ship. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know, to be honest. So it is going to be very interesting developments here as this go. Is it too late now with the obvious coastal erosion? We're seeing what's happening with global warming, whether or not you want to believe in it. We're seeing what's happening and the runoffs. We see what's happening in Hogstye Bay. The smell of, it has been said that, you know, there has been feces in the water there, or yeah, that's from runoff of early development. But now that we're in 2025, and in this case, something being approved from 2018, were there any rooms for modifications now that we know what we know at this time with stormwater, with the coastal erosion and all that sort of stuff, and stormwater runoff, and what it could do to really disbalance in our marine environment? Oh, should we look then at setbacks? Or what about those developers who are thinking maybe setbacks are just red tape and they just slow down progress? Well, what do you know? The reality is, in my humble opinion, setbacks are really buffers designed to protect this very same thing, our environment, and the property that you're building, for God's sakes. And what we can see with setbacks is that they can also reduce the risk of preserving public access and safeguarding them against storm surge, which we see, I think, is it one of those condominiums on South Sound before Sunset House, that during bad weather, it's popping up and water is coming in on the ground floor. And that was one that they cut through the iron shore and made a natural pool, saltwater pool. We're seeing what's happening there as well. We saw the pictures of that. So waiving them isn't a streamline. It shouldn't be considered a bad thing. It's really short-term thinking with long-term cost. And I think only time will tell. And I'm hoping that that with this public outcry on this particular headline, that maybe some realities may actually come to fruition here, so that we don't keep repeating it. Oh my God, if it's one thing that we can prove that is saying we're ignorant, is the Marriott. It is what it is. So here we are. Are we going to repeat this again? And then, oh yeah, Finn, yes. Thank you, Miss Anna Rose. Finn, yeah, we're seeing where that now, like the ground units are at risk because, and are we going to repeat the same thing here? It is interesting. So Sandra, they bought up a whole lot of the land from Vaseline. Olive Mayer Street. Oh, I hope that's a typo. Rose, and goes on, and they are all happy in Cayman Islands, and it not fair how we are being treated. God is going to shut all these doors. Government need to do a proper survey. Jimmy, hi Jimbo, how are you? Hope you're enjoying your 5 weeks vacation. Let's see what you got to say here. Money, money, money. That almighty dollar takes precedence over everything, everybody, and anything. My heart breaks for Cayman and the real Caymanians. Yeah, how are you doing, Jimbo? Hope you're enjoying your vacation. Damian Henry, this approvals look like corruption. Well, it goes back to 2018. Are we too late? And you heard right here that DOE's recommendations was waived and it still got through. You are not old. You still young. Hold on, Sabrina. Wait till we. It's just a number, Miss Rose. I tell him I'm gonna fight going down. I got to find everything and a miss and rub up all over. I ain't going down without a fight. Nicole Brown. So who gave permission? Planning. It was waived, Nicole. It was waived. It was waived despite DOE's recommendations. Yeah. But I know you're enjoying it, and I'm going over. I'll probably take about 10 more minutes because, again, it's all about headlines. We heard about what happened at airport and that was an ongoing discussion about the risk of those birds, whatever. And there was also a headline that I shared with you in the earlier show podcast this week about the repaving of the long-term parking lot. So if you missed it, the CIAA has begun paving the long-term parking lot at Owen Roberts International Airport, and phase 1 is definitely on the way. So, have you been impacted by this, the inconvenience? Have you parked your car, come back, and it's been torrential rain, and you pretty much need a boat to get into your car, or you go ankle deep in mud? Well, they're going to be rectifying that. Will we ever get to the stage where there's like cover parking there? And what are your thoughts on other upgrades that should be prioritized? Is it the jetties? Is it the chutes? Do we just need to look at possible another airport someplace else? I don't know. I just putting it out there. I don't want to get in trouble, but yeah, I'm thought provoking. But I think the bigger issue here is safety first, in regards to that. And to be honest, we need to look at them birds to avoid any bird strikes. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So I hope that you were able to take away some of these headlines that I shared here with you. And in regards to the progress is one thing, Jimbo. Going overboard is another. You're quite right. And I said I would have given you an update on the happenings at Clifton Hunter High School. Now, please note that based on the latest information that we had, the Minister for Education did a press release that saying, based on information received at that time, that the Royal Cayman Islands Police had done their checks and there was no gun found there. So this is still an active investigation, and we're hoping for those who can share on the information that they will reach out to the relevant authorities and pretty much share what they know. But Education Minister and Department of Education Services confirms that they've received an update and no weapon has been found on the premises. So we're definitely going to keep it locked here, and we're going to be following this. And I'm hoping as the days go by that our powers that be will actually engage with each of you. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Hello, darling.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I'm in 7 minutes overtime. Wrap it up.
I know. I can be the tree.
Go
you know
ahead.
what?
What?
You know the sad part about what's happening down at that Pageant Beach Hotel?
What happened?
My good friend who comments there a lot, the young lady, we actually spoke about housing. They waived or did not even consider DOE recommendations with respect to changing the high water mark, allowing them to go. Who builds on an iron shore, for God's sake? Who builds on an iron shore, then? Who gave them permission? Us. You know the sad part about it is, do you even know, and I can tell you, I've been there, do you know how difficult it is to get setbacks waived for residential housing? For residential housing?
Well, that's what Miss Rose was saying. That was what she, a person just trying to add on a little 2x2 and what they have to go through. Yeah.
This is it. Right? And I'm saying, like, and I know from West, they will know the guys. This is why there's so much illegal buildings and illegal buildings in this country, because the precedent from the top is bad. It's top down bad. Because you have the ability to afford lawyers and architects to the moon and back, right? We are all playing with the same kind of money and I am not here suggesting that people should be allowed to build illegally, but we're not all playing with the same deck of cards. And someone who is a senior citizen, who's worked all their life, paid off their mortgage, using some of their pension to build on a one bedroom to increase their little income so that they don't have to rely on NAU, whatever the case is, red tape to get that done. Or you've exceeded the land, you've exceeded the square footage allowed for your land. You will be outside of the setback. When they start to tell you what you can actually build on, you can build a bathroom.
Oh, wow.
You can literally build a bathroom. However, you have mess like that monstrosity, that garbage being built on Pageant Beach. And the powers that be see nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But the playing field is not level, and this is exactly, the young lady is Abby Bodden. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, Abby.
And this is the type,
Abby.
She's my friend. But this is the type of setbacks that I keep talking about. Well, on a Nowhere Mile Road, say about Pageant Beach. Not, and no pun intended. Why that hotel was granted all of what they were granted, and whose wife is finishing the interior of that hotel, and whose wife got all the contracts to do this. What kind of thing this is we doing in this country? It just sounds just like a bunch of incense. The incestual relationships, we cutting off our nose to spite our face, and we're not giving Sabrina the contract, and we're doing this, and we got waived this so that we can get the job inside to do outfitting and the kitchens and the cabinets and the walls and the tiles but we destroying the country. They must not drive past Burger King in bad weather, and Burger King never been on the Iron Shore. They must not see the devastation happening out by Finn when one little nor'wester blowing.
Yeah, I didn't remember the name of it, but yeah.
They don't see that we have to lock off the road by the South Terminal, or what was the South Terminal, when one little breeze passed through. I wouldn't say what I hope happened to that hotel. I will leave that for another day. But what a mess. What a mess.
Girl. But,
and the precedent that it is setting.
Yes, that is what was the thing. Yeah.
When someone says, but why can't I build? Because my dad is a builder. Setbacks for residential houses, 15 from the front. 20 from the front, 15 from each side, and 20 from the back. Right? And somebody says, there's nobody behind me. Can I go 10 feet? Nope, that's too close. But son of what behind me? That's too close. But you allowed this monstrosity to build on the Iron Shore.
And it's right there. You can't even deny it. You can see that that's...
Build. What, you're not doing nothing illegal?
No, they're not. I said it. I said they ain't doing nothing wrong. Be it a dock or a deck. The fact is they're building in the sea.
No, don't worry. I hope they're going to get it off that Cayman ledge soon. I'll say that'll be by the time that nor'wester come drag that off, I'll be out by the Cayman Trench. It's really sad what's happening to this country for the love of money. We're losing this country, and we're not losing it to Caymanians. Caymanians are minorities in their own country. We have been in every sense of the word. We're not enjoying any of the luxuries that this country is that everybody else seems to come and find and be able to get a hold of in a very short period of time, and nobody sees the problem with it and say, Caymanians lazy. I don't have one lazy bone in me. One laziness for giving out. I was sleeping or hiding or playing or working or something. I'm not lazy, and I can think of 100 more who are like me, but opportunities are not equal in this country. They're not. They're not. And for anyone to suggest that they are is a farce. I just gave you an example. I built as recently as 2021. Had I been allowed to go to certain setbacks, had I been allowed to even, like I said, I use my own example. Ain't nobody behind me that I got worried about running into. Ain't nobody. Oh, no, you can't build. No, that's too close to your setback. But you allowed him to build on the Iron Shore. And he built he got his approval in 2018. I built in 2021. Yeah. So when I say the playing field is not level, and it always seems to be working against the Caymanian, or so it seems, and if that is not the reality, then it is the perception. And you know what they say? Perception is data 20.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And again, that is another encumbrance for Caymanians being able to access housing. That's another encumbrance that nobody considers or thinks about. And I don't know, Sabrina, we going down.
We got pray, and we can't give up.
I pray.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, child.
We can't give up.
Well,
I'm not going to settle for giving up. We
well, I
can't
tell
give up.
you, boy, this rope is looking mighty short. How, perseverance, giving up is not part of my DNA. But Sabrina, I say that to you as a mother of two who has done, I would say, at my still young age, who has done incredibly well for herself in terms of real estate, yada, 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 and what I've been able to accomplish. I also accept that I had a better start at this stuff than most people. But nobody gave me anything. I got a mortgage. Nobody gave me anything. I may have had a bit more guidance than a lot of people. I had a little bit of free work, kind of, sort of. But I can shingle a roof. I can help myself. But again, all of that means nothing. It just reminds me of my dear friend, Mr. Ronald Martin, God rest his soul. That is why there's so much illegal building going on in this country. People are literally building warehouses, and I'm not legitimizing it or making it okay. But when the bureaucracy is so bad that they feel that this is all that they can do, then they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And it's unreasonable. It's unreasonable because they could make it a lot easier. They could make it a lot easier, a lot more cost effective, cost friendly.
Right.
And they're not. And a man building a hotel is not playing with the same amount of money as a man building a 2-bedroom house.
That's building it in the water.
On the Iron Shore. Correct yourself. On the Iron Shore.
Iron Shore. Yep. Yeah. Because they'll have a different meaning for that.
It just seems so disheartening and discouraging for Caymanians who want a piece of home. I don't think that we can. I don't think that we're asking for a lot, Sabrina. I really don't think so. I really don't think so. And we are not townhouse apartment people. We're not. We want the yard with the. And if we got, my God, if we're able to even score a piece of land, can't afford a bill on it. Can't afford a bill on it. $13,000 for plans. Planning permissions take 900 years for Caymanians. I am going to say that. And just one setback after the next, But all you got to do is know the right MP, hire the right lawyer, and you can soon bill in the sky. Literally, like they can soon start renting rooms up there. It's out of control, Sabrina. It's out of control, which is why I genuinely believe there's so much illegal building going on in this country. All of those sheds that you see on EK Trade and people renting their sheds for $900. That's what this is causing. I'm not suggesting that this is okay, nor am I approving any of that because I think it's outright dangerous. But all of this red tape is causing that. It really is, and it's separating. I mean, my dear friend, Mr. Ronald Martin, by the time they caught him, he had built on the Iron Shore himself or nearby. And when they came down, they said, "Sir, do you have a plan?" He said, "Yeah, I had a plan to build a house, and I built it." And that was the end, but that is the corner that those are the corners that we're literally being backed into. And it's to the point now where before, I think people, them nosy neighbors, if they see you pouring a step, they call him planning. Well, now I'm finding that everybody's now in the same boat, trying to secure something to secure their future. And they're willing to turn, you go ahead and build yours, I go ahead and build mine here. I'll come over and help you when I'm done. But I want it to be legal because I want it to be safe. I want it to be legal because I don't want Caymanians to be the rule breakers. I don't want that to be our label.
Right.
I want us to be able to achieve something in this country the right way. And again, I think that the government red tape is making it much worse, much more costly, much more difficult to achieve, and it's very disheartening. It's very disheartening.
Somebody had asked who gave permission at 7:03, and thanks to AI search from a supporter, this is what AI came up with again. And I have to be very clear. This is AI. We're trying to get into the archives of 2018 and 17 to 18, thanks to AI, quick search. What is on the screen right here is the chair was then A.L. Thompson, deputy chair was Ed Chisholm, Ray Hides, Eugene Whitaker, Robert Whitaker, Fred Whitaker, Raymond McDowell, Paul Laidlaw, Delno Solomon, Robert Powell, Michael Brown, and Corey Bodden, and executive secretary, non-voting, Harold Tibbetts, director of planning. Now, someone had asked who was that, and thanks to AI, this was what come up. We're just still trying to go into the archives to make sure that this is, yeah.
You remember the time when I said that there was once a time when the steel for building, like if you were building one wall, whereas before you needed one piece of steel, now you need 5 pieces, and you need to have steel in each block hole, and the block hole poured to the belting and all of that. And you remember I said it feels a little like who opened up a steel shop?
Right.
Okay. Perception for me is almost reality. And I'm not suggesting, I am and I'm not going to say, oh, well, the requirement for steel went up because Mr. Thompson owns A.L. Thompson's. But I think that when we serve on public boards and in government, we have an obligation to avoid the mere perception of impropriety. Now, I will stand corrected all day. If somebody can come and show me and say, well, Miss Hyde, I know you said this on public radio. However, just so you know, our recommendation for changing the size steel from 5/8 to 1/2 inch and making sure that every block hole is poured and hard steel came from this recommendation based out of this country, which is most similar to us, out of Florida, where we often take a lot of our recommendations from, with the hurricane
the
center,
standards because of hurricane.
There.
Yes.
Correct. And I appreciate that. If somebody can say to me, listen, that has changed simply because building codes in Florida were changed. Here is what it changed. If that be the case, then I stand corrected and I stand down. But you go and you make these sweeping changes that have great cost implication. During that time, cost of steel actually went from $1,000 a bundle to almost $2,000 a bundle. So not only did you increase the cost of the product, and again, that may have been a global issue, right? But you increased the cost of the product increased. We know the cost of labor skyrocketed. And then you went and increased the amount that you needed. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, my dear.
That's crazy. And then, you know, when I say it, does it sound too far-fetched? Like somebody getting a little something for their board membership? Come on. Come on. Be transparent. I think you have an obligation to the country when you sit on these boards, when you make these changes that have these great effects, especially cost implications, to say, to actually put these changes out for public, so that the public actually knows. Because if you built in 2019, I don't think you should be expected to pay vastly different in 2021. That wasn't the case, Sabrina. That wasn't the case. And if you approve my plan in 2019, those plans are good for a year. If I start building in 2020 and something has changed during that time, they want you to go with the new building code changes. That's not how that works. If you sign a contract, the contract is good for the duration of it. There's so much stuff that
Take a
so
breath.
passionate
Take a breath for
about
a kaboom.
this. And I'm just saying, this is a government department responsible for housing, that we're fighting to be able to get home ownership in this country. There is so much more that could be done to help the average Caymanian. Just on that planning level, that isn't being done. And we're not all building apartments. Some of us are actually building 1,200 square foot houses. 1,200 square foot houses. If you're paying between $8,000 and $10,000 just for the house plan, you literally looking at a mortgage of about $350,000. May not even include the land based on the current prices, and that is of a medium. When I say medium, just basic housing, basic designs and stuff. You know, they're not coming turnkey no more, meaning no appliances. Whereas before, if you were doing buildings, they would come in turnkey, Sabrina. Sometimes they are just a shell. You got by the cabinet. You got by your appliances. They're just a shell. You get floor and roof. That's it. Floor and roof. It's a shame what's happening there, but a lot of these costs are largely being driven by what is coming down the poop chute with these architects, with the planning board, and the steel. I will not stop talking about the steel. God bless Mr. Frank Flowers. I don't know if blocks have doubled in price since that man started making blocks in this country, but nobody gets up and says thank you to Frank Flowers.
It's true.
But we're parking A.L. Thompson there, though. Parking up there. And let me tell you, I love A.L. Thompson. I love him and he's short. I love him and he's short.
I do go in there because I have to put on blinders, especially during the Christmas holidays.
I love him and he's short. But at the end of the day, anything that separates Caymanians from their highest version of themselves is a problem. It's a problem from achieving what I see. Everybody talking about, oh, it's the Caymanian dream to own a home. We were owning homes before that. We were owning homes. So what has changed? Why is it so far out of reach? Why? Why is it that plans? What? More important, and then I get cut off here because this is burning a hole in my soul. What I want to know, right? Maybe somebody listening could take this to the board because I can soon make a little problem for them all. What I want to know: a plumber needs a license to plumb. An electrician needs a license to do electrical. An architect needs a degree and needs to be registered to be an architect. But Sabrina, with no construction experience, can be a contractor. Why is that? Why is that?
Leave that for food for thought. Leave that as a food for thought.
You know how many road contractors running around here? They shouldn't even be allowed to hang a door, much less build a house. But they're getting government contracts, though. They can't pay their employees, but they're getting government contracts. That is the due diligence, and that is the mess that's going on in this country, and it's going to continue to happen until there are people who are willing to say, this is too much. This is too much.
Leave me there, caller.
I will.
Leave me there. Always a pleasure to hear from you, and thank you so much. Have a safe weekend. Yeah. Oh, my God. There we have it. We've cropped up a lot of the headlines for this week, some that I know were controversial and that definitely, based on all the feedback here, got you going. Food for thought. But I'll leave you on this one because I want to make sure that, you know, this weekend that you're all safe on the road. We can see based on the headlines that just last weekend, we had 37 collisions and police responded to 37 collisions between Friday and Sunday of last week, mostly within Georgetown. Let's not even go near there this weekend, for God's sakes, meaning let's have none. Let's aim for zero, to be honest. This is not just a statistic. This is a wake-up call. But we are going to aim this weekend, because I know it's still early. It's only 7:28. And if you've been there from happy hour, please be responsible. Call somebody. But we don't want 37 collisions. It would be interesting to see exactly the stats, and if I can get my hand on them by at least midweek, hoping that I would be entitled to that information, or they would be able to help me just so that we can do our part here in this space. let's get this down to 0. Let's not have police doing a report that between Friday of last week and Sunday that we get this number of 37, that we get none. That's the aim. And we asked the question all along, what's going on our roads? What's happening? Is it time for tougher enforcement or better infrastructure? Is it the roads? Is it the lighting? Or is it the drivers? Is it bad behavior? Is it culture? Culture by who? Yeah, but let's all aim as the Cayman Island society that we are to not have any numbers, not even near there. Hey, Miss Donna, thank you so much. ALT, CUC, and supermarkets got us by Aliano. You're something else. 37 collisions in that time frame is total insanity, but it's facts. We giving it to you right here, Jimbo. And that's too much on our little island. To be honest, we don't want any. And this is why I felt it was nice for me to do that this evening and to just put the spotlight there. Let's see what we can do in a positive vein this weekend, that we don't have numbers at all, that we can hear police saying, oh my gosh, we had Friday night has been one that, they haven't seen in years, that it was quiet. There was no domestic abuse. There wasn't any reports of DUIs or speeding or accidents or anything like that for this entire weekend. Let's hope that that is something that I'd be able to share with you, hopefully during the midweek. But we went from budgets, yes, to black eyes and development, from education to enforcement. And these headlines, my friends, are not just news. They're actually reflections on who we are and where we are reached, where we're headed. So as I bring a close to this episode of Sabrina Speaks, I just want to leave with you that, our headlines aren't just ink on a paper or pixels on a screen. They're actually reflecting our choices, our values, and the systems we uphold. So whether it's budget surpluses, stalled hotel, or construction on the ocean, aka, or yes, on the iron shore, these stories and so much more shape the Cayman we are building. And if we don't speak up, someone else will shape it for us. And this is why you are so valuable to me in this space. So I challenge you, yes, you, every one of you that is listening right now, I challenge you to take what you've heard today and turn it into sound conversations. Don't let it just die here. Tisha Swaper got me on the hook. Don't let it just die here. Okay? Don't. Around your dinner table, in your WhatsApp community groups, at your workplace, or even right here, because I pass on the information. And because when we talk about Cayman, we move Cayman, but we want it to be moving in the right direction. Okay? So I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up, for listening, for putting up with me, and for caring. Because if you didn't care, there's one thing about coming on here for Gap Seed, but I know a lot of you do care. What is Siobhan saying? And we want to increase the population. We have rickshaw divers behind the wheels of cars. That's the biggest problem with driving in Cayman. So yes, thank you so much again for Siobhan for calling in, and everyone who calls in, everyone who comments, everyone who are loyal. They just continue. And for all of our newcomers, even in Belize, yes, even in Belize, we welcome you. We love having you. So thank you again for putting up with me. Thank you for sticking with me, even if you've joined me mid show. I want to let you know that you're greatly appreciated. And I'll be back soon with more stories. Soon, as in Monday. More stories, more truth, and more space for your voice, definitely. Until then, please, 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 please stay informed, stay bold, and stay rooted in what makes us Caymanians. Thank you, Connie. Thank you so much. Have a safe and wonderful weekend to you and Jimbo. your partner in crime over there celebrating he blooming 5 weeks. Oh my God. Yes, you are most welcome. Thank you so much, and stay safe to you as well. Again, happy Friday, everyone. Be safe on the roads. We want police to say, what happened? What happened? And let's say it is Sabrina Speaks. They listen. Take care. God bless. Love you lots. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.